How to Create a Glitch Monologues Season 24 Chapter 5. This is Season 24 of How to Create a Glitch in the Matrix Monologues Episode 5. In this episode, we will be talking about the relationship between the cycles of bodily rhythm and positing a numerical law to govern that relationship. We will be discussing how the application of this law explains a stable consensual reality. This podcast will involve some fairly simple mathematics, which might be easier to write out with a pen and paper handy. Likewise, it would greatly assist to be able to draw a single diagram to explain the overarching ideas. The medium unfortunately makes both difficult, so I will do my best to explain the ideas verbally. Now, in How to Create a Glitch in the Matrix, the complete series, the book, we use a diagram to explain the cycles of bodily rhythm. That diagram, if you have the book handy, is a series of concentric circles around some small circle in the middle. Each of those circles or rings, after the first one, is meant to embody a specific bodily cycle of rhythm. So for example, for the fastest rhythm, the breathing rhythm, would refer to the initial, smallest concentric circle. The next highest, for example, if you smoke cigarettes every approximately hour and a half, would be the cycle of smoking. The next highest would be the urination cycle, at approximately every 4 hours, and so on and so forth. Each cycle has a corresponding time it takes for the task and a corresponding period for the rhythm. Now, when an individual is existing within a consensual reality, we can posit that those rhythms will be in a stable state. That is to say, they will stabilize at some ratio which reflects that consensuality. Thus, the ratio of how long each task takes to complete to the period of the cycle should produce a predictable relationship. In fact, for fun, I recorded each of these ratios for my own rhythms, while in a state of rest, to determine the relationship. What I discovered was intriguing. A single formula, defined by E or Euler's number, describes the relationship between the ratio, while a power relationship determines the interrelatedness of the various rhythms. So, the equation is Euler's number times 10 to the power of x. And x is equal to negative the level of the rings or concentric circle. So, for example, for breathing, the ratio of inhalation to the breathing period is approximately 1.4 seconds for inhalation to 5 seconds for a full breathing cycle. This is the first circle. So the ratio results in 0.28, which is approximately equal to Euler's number multiplied by 10 to the exponent -1, for the first level or circle. The next level's ratio is 0.028 for the cycle of smoking, which is Euler's number multiplied by 10 to the exponent -2. The next is 0.0028 for the cycle of urination, which is Euler's number multiplied by 10 to the -3. This tells us that there are two laws at work here. One, which relates the ratio of the time it takes to complete the task to the period of the bodily rhythm through Euler's number. And two, the power law, which relates each cycle to each other according to the exponent set to a negative number for x equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. These two rules tell us that when your consensuality is in a stable state, there is a relationship between your bodily rhythms and the time it takes to complete each task and the length of the bodily cycle. The closer your times reflect these two rules reveals the extent to which you are existing in a resting stable state, which produces a consistent consensuality. Now, perturbations in these ratios away from the power law and the ratio law represents the extent to which your rhythms are interrupted or disturbed. A consensuality which is interrupted or disturbed is contracting or expanding. Thus, it is possible to monitor these laws as a means of determining the extent to which your consensuality is stable. That's the end of the podcast for today. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe.